Listen, if I sound stuffed up, you legally can't make fun of me because I said so, and that means you can't bully me. And I really wanted to get this out, so just bear with me. Since 2020, the games industry has been going through this very huge flux in a way that people kind of just don't really talk about too much. Welcome back to the Friend EA, the only channel that disappears for a month to go on Twitch and then remembers he has a YouTube channel. When the world went into isolation and office jobs were seen as very unsafe and we all weren't really able to go outside at all. God, what a time that was. The global economy shifted towards remote work except for very essential workers that did not get a pay raise, but that's a whole other conversation that I'm not going to touch on. And one of the main avenues that was easily able to transition over to remote work was tech and games. It's why in 2020, you saw these companies skyrocket in both jobs, stock options. Remember the stock thing, that's going to be a huge factor going forward. And the third thing is that during isolation, a lot of people were playing a lot more games. Like, just look at the numbers between Warzone and launch in 2020 to now. Games are still high, but it's not as astronomical as it was. Fast forward to 2021 as we fully transition to a more normal-ish society.
Hey, Italian man. Huh?
What is going on here? Oh? Can you guys shut the fuck up here? Jesus Christ, shut up! What is going on? What's you guys doing?
Profits slowly began to diminish for these bigger companies, but the people at the very top, like the big CEOs and all them, wanted to really keep the appearance of high profits. So now this is when you started to see the big layoffs happen. Company closures, projects being canceled, contract work, really more part-time work rather than full-time. And the one really big interesting factor about contract workers and just anyone that's part-time is that when these bigger companies do assets and they like their tax stuff at the end of the year, they will equate you to essentially a tool. For example, when I was working at Microsoft as a contract environment artist on Forza, my equivalency was just a really expensive printer, and that's it, because they don't have to give any form of healthcare. They don't give you like stock options. They don't give you any of the main benefits. You're kind of just there. And I know that's how a lot of the bigger companies kind of run. It's why more often than not, when people look at my portfolio history or like who I've worked for, they're like, oh, of course you're going to defend this company. No, I'm defending the people I worked with. I'm not defending the company itself because the company themselves saw me as just a fucking stapler.
Oh, hey, man. Oh, you know what? Before I forget again, I talked to the guys about hiring you. I'm bringing you in for an interview.
So when you're able to like lay these people off, it's like, oh, but we saved $90,000. And when you multiply that by whatever developer cycle or whatever, like when you lay off 700 people as a treat, you save millions of dollars on assets. So your profits still seem high and it balances out in the whole stock market grand scheme bullshit. Now let's fast forward a little bit to now, to 2024, when a lot of these studios are still laying people off here and there. Like currently they shifted a lot to silent layoffs, which is like, hey, we're laying people off, but it's only a small enough amount of people, so we don't really need to announce it. So if you just randomly see developers like pop up in different places like without making an announcement, it's probably because they had to sign an NDA and forced to be unable to fucking say that they left their job. It's cool, isn't it? I love that. But 2024, for lack of a better term, has been a very interesting year for game development, where larger game studios like your Sonys, your Microsofts really made anything big or announced anything drastic in the last year. Like there's a whole meme that PS5 has no game. It's kind of right. Specifically among the bigger studios, like Naughty Dog's released Last of Us 1 and 2 again, a PS3 and a PS4 game to show off whatever the fuck. Also, whoever worked on a bunch of the environments for Last of Us Part 1 is really sexy. Don't look into it. The Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Demon's Souls was a remake, Final Fantasy VII was a remake. The only like main PS5 games that were released are Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, Forspoken, Ratchet and Clank, Horizon? Damn. PS5 really got no games. But the biggest surprise hit of this year was Astrobots, which was developed off the demo for the PS5 and then turned into a full game within 3 years. And then after that, for whatever you say, Stellar Blade came out, Helldivers 2, Space Marine 2, Wukong, Robocop, Liza P, It Takes Two. These are all smaller games that still have an insane high level of quality to them, but they're made in a much smaller budget and time frame. They did not take 5 years to make. They only took around 2 to 3, which is the average cycle that most games should be. And they don't take as long time to invest, and you'll eventually get the reward, at least from an investor standpoint, as quickly as possible. Like, there's definitely a world where all these games can exist, but there's going to be a balance shift going forward. The shift towards a lot of smaller IPs and games that are going to take over and fill the gaps between these larger titles, like your God of Wars, your Uncharted's, or Last of Us, or whatever the fuck Naughty Dog's doing, your Ghost of Yote's. So hold on, I know I'm all over the place, but I don't believe this number because it doesn't make sense. Someone said on the internet that Concord, even though I'm a very staunch defender of that game, said it cost $400 million. Dog, that is 2 Red Dead 2s. No way. No way it costs that much. This isn't even to mention all the indie games that have come out in the last 4 years. With a lot of people going in isolation, a lot of people were able to pick up new hobbies, and a lot of it has come in the form of game development, especially like through Roblox and stuff. Lethal Company was made from a solo Roblox. Pacific Drive, which just came out this year, was a former Sucker Punch dev. Another Crab's Treasure, Balatro? The card game. All these games have come out and have made, I kind of see this as like a weird pyramid scheme. I don't want to say pyramid scheme, but it's a weird pyramid chart to where you have all these other games just slowly filling up the bottom portion, and then you only have the handful of really expensive things at the very top. Like, for every one AAA, like quadruple A now at this point, for every GTA game, there's hundreds of other games. A lot of people are worried the industry is dying, but honestly, it's just reshifting priorities. It genuinely feels like being a game developer now is the most accessible and inaccessible at the same time. Especially with people like Pirate Software really leading the charge into pushing people to make their own games. Lastly, I do want to say that I have a message, I guess, to a lot of the newer devs and the people that are trying to break into the AAA space and all that stuff. You look on Twitter and then you look on the internet, it's like, oh, the game industry is dying and da 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 da. It's like, oh, it's over, baby. It's fucking over. It always seems like it's a never-ending fire, and it's just building to this giant mountain of problems and garbage. You can't give up on what you want to do. You have to find a way to offset both doing this on the side while working on other gigs, and eventually you're gonna get paid for it. The game industry is brutal right now. It is very hard, but we are slowly transitioning to something better. Even when you don't go to your dream studio, like you're not gonna go to a Riot, you're not gonna go to a Blizzard, even though I don't think you would want to go to Blizzard right now. You don't want to go to your Naughty Dogs, etc. You need to find a way to grow yourself so that way you can develop your own sense of worth rather than associating it with a job title. Especially here in the United States, our job titles are very equitable to our own worth. We only see ourselves as good as how much money we can make. We only see ourselves as good as what we've worked on. We only see ourselves as good as what we are able to contribute to a company rather than what we contribute to ourselves. For years, I was making small games by myself, not thinking it would ever be a career. And even when I got kicked out of school for trying to get into this career path, I felt terrible. I was like, oh, I'm not even going to be a college graduate. I'm not going to be anything more than whatever. I kept making stuff, and eventually, with the right place and the right time and a lot of stupid luck, I got into Treyarch. I got into Infinity Ward. I kept doing all these very, 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 very silly things that eventually just gave me the opportunity to be ready when that opportunity came at my door. You have to find your own personal growth, whether it be through communication, soft skills, just stuff like that to make you stand out in a way, because people are paying attention no matter what. And even if you're not on social media, the best developers I've ever met do not have a social media presence. They do not update on ArtStation. They don't do anything of the sort because they're always just focused on making the thing that they want to do. They're making games. And if you're starting to feel burnt out, that's okay. Take a break. Take a breather. The industry isn't going anywhere. You will have plenty of time to make the things you want to make. The only time you won't be able to is when you stop. Don't be hard on yourself. Be persistent. Even if you just make a little bit of an improvement weekly, daily, whatever, you'll get it. So go make games. Have fun. Go outside. Enjoy life a little bit. That's all I've been doing. Okay. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.